Hey everyone, it's the Shnakey back again with another video. Tech review time today. We're going to be taking a look at the Dierya DK63 Bluetooth mechanical keyboard. On paper, this keyboard has a lot going for it. It's wireless, obviously. It's got mechanical switches and it's got a decent build quality. I have to say it's a nice heavy product. It's not going to be sliding all over the table. So when I got this, I had high hopes for it. And although it has some fantastic features and works well when it's working, this is the definition of a death by snoo keyboard. If you've ever seen that episode of Futurama where Fry is got that happy face on 1 minute and then the disgusted face the next, that's kind of like the range of emotions you're going to be experiencing when you're using this keyboard. Now, overall on YouTube, this has got glowing reviews. It's very, very positive. But I don't think people have been using it long enough or in the right circumstances to really give an honest review of it. Just so you know, today's review is not going to be focusing on how to use the keyboard so much, and it's also not going to be talking so much about the packaging and all that, because I don't have the box. It comes with a manual and a keycap remover as well, in a plain white box, so there's not really a whole lot to see. You can go and check out other channels there if you want to see that. I'm going to be talking about the functionality of the keyboard and maybe talking about some things that you guys might be confused about if you own this keyboard and you've not been able to get any answers on the forums, because this keyboard, this Dierya company, have got a forum. It's really like something that you'd see back in the day, like a Counter-Strike clan forum, really sort of a low budget offering. But again, this is a new company, and I believe this was Kickstarter or Indiegogo or something, so I'm not going to shit on the company too much, but I just wanted to really highlight the realities if you're buying a product like this, what you're going to get. So let's start off first of all with turning the thing on. I'm not going to leave the RGB on the whole time because I think it could be quite distracting on the video, and also the camera here is kind of picking up the lights with this pulsing up effect. That's not happening. This is just a solid multicolor going on at the moment. So the thing that everyone probably wants to know is, how do you cycle through the colors? You hold down FN and you just press this little question mark here, and you see you've got that nice races, horse racing type one going across. You've got a solid changing fading colors and a kind of a rainbow effect, and there's loads others there, and you can cycle through them all nicely like that. Now I'm going to set it to this off position here from this Z key. Will just be flashing because it's trying to pair currently to my computer, which is not turned on. The first thing I want to talk about is the charging on this. Now, the first thing I want to tell you is something you won't find written anywhere. It's not in the manual. How do you know if the keyboard is low on battery? Well, the answer is you don't. Well, you do. There's a way that you know, and it's if the keyboard, a lot of people have been having this issue where the keyboard turns off, back on, off, back on, it won't remain connected. That is how you know the keyboard needs to be charged. I'm not joking here, guys, that is the case. There is no actual physical indicator as to whether the battery is low. On this model anyways, on the DK61 Pro, which is like a more advanced model, there may be, but there isn't for the keyboard here. So once that starts happening, you know it needs to be charged. Now, a lot of people have been saying, well, I've been charging it, and it's not coming back, it's not going back to the way that it was, it's still turning off and on. Well, that means the keyboard has not been charged, or is not holding a charge. If it's not holding a charge, it could be a defective unit, or if it's turning off and on after charging it, then the means that you're charging it by does not work. Let me introduce accessory A, well, the only accessory that comes with it. This is also included in the box, apologies. This is a kind of an L-shaped USB type 3 connector and a standard USB here. This cable is braided, it's nice, the build quality is good, and hats off to Dierya here for giving a cable that's really good. Now the problem is, this can be used to charge the keyboard in different ways. You would think you can just plug it into the top so it's connected in. I'll show you right up the top up here. There's your USB port. You plug that in and you connect it into a mains adapter. So I've got a USB charger there, as everybody does, and I connect it in there, and the keyboard turns on. And what you do to check to see if it's charging is you hold down the FN key, and you see this Alt key here right beside it. Well, while I'm holding FN, if the keyboard is charging, this lights up blue and doesn't follow the pattern. So this stays blue no matter what the RGB is doing here. That lets you know it's charging. And it's supposed to remain blue until the keyboard is charged, at which point it stops being blue and just blends in with the RGB effect on the rest of the keyboard. So if we had that rainbow effect going across, that would be following that and it wouldn't be staying blue. I have left this keyboard plugged in for probably, I'm not exaggerating here when I say 10 hours plugged into the wall with the mains adapter, not just one, around 2 or 3 different types, and none of them have got the keyboard to come out of this blue charging mode, which I'm assuming means that it's not charging or there's some issue. And when I go to use it again, it's still turning off and on, which means it hasn't charged. The only way that I've gotten this keyboard to charge and not fully charge is to plug it into my computer here, which defeats the whole purpose of this being a wireless keyboard. I know I have to charge the keyboard, but I should be able to do that through my mains adapter, which is a lot more convenient for me than reaching in behind my TV and connecting up this USB cable every time, which I don't really want to be doing. So, and I've left this in again. I've had gaming sessions. I've had 2 5-hour gaming sessions where I've been really into different games. I'm playing Black Mesa recently. I just finished it, actually. Fantastic. Kind of an indie project there. But it still hasn't charged. It's still on blue. So I can only assume this information that Dierya have put out that I got off Reddit is not correct. And also the people in the forums are telling us that this should come off blue when it's charged. So I wouldn't be believing that at all. So that's the situation with the charging. It holds a decent charge. I play for long spurts. But then again, if there's no way of knowing if it's ever fully charged, and can it even be fully charged, who knows? So you have to charge it off the PC. That's the conclusion that I've come to. Plug it into a PC. Don't plug it into anything else. I've even tried it off a little Linux box there, a mag box, TV box, and it doesn't work either. So just forget it. Charge it off the PC. That's my conclusion on that. That's the charging situation, and I honestly don't know what else to say to you. There should really be some sort of a firmware update that allows the keyboard to be fully charged and indicate to us when the keyboard is fully charged. I've got at a what I assume is a full charge, because it never tells me. I've gotten like probably straight, I'd say 6-7 hours of gameplay out of this, which is not bad, you know, and that's having it on constantly with the RGB effects going at a lower brightness. Well, that's the first issue that I've experienced with the keyboard. Now, while the keyboard has nice switches and everything feels good and the RGB lights up there when I press the different keys, which is really nice, the next issue I want to talk about are connection issues and interference. I am not a far distance from my TV here and my PC. I'd say I'm probably 3 feet, if even 2 foot away, which is a really close distance, really. And I've had a lot of connection issues with this. So the first issue that I experienced was, do not plug, if you're using a Bluetooth receiver, do not plug it into a USB 3 port or a USB 3 VR ready port, because my motherboard has those. It seems to create interference, but that's not the problem with the keyboard, that's the receiver. And I've tried a few different Bluetooth receivers with the same results with the connection issues. This has a tendency to sometimes, for whatever reason, double click keys, or you can get a little bit of input lag. And again, I'm not that far away from the computer, so that really shouldn't be happening. So just be aware of that if you're playing a competitive game or a game that requires good reactions. You need to make sure that you're at a very close distance, because I wouldn't trust this thing to go any further away than around that 3 foot that I've been playing at. The other issue that I found is that connecting to the actual dongle itself, I've turned this on a few times, and you switch between the Bluetooth mode and the USB mode by holding down FN and pressing R. For sometimes it just won't pair back up with the dongle on the computer, and I've had to remove the device and reconnect it again. And even one time that didn't work. I had to actually go in and remove the USB drivers and the Bluetooth drivers of the keyboard, and then it reconnected again. I don't know why that happened. Now, that only did happen to me once or twice, granted, but again, these aren't things you should have to be worrying about with a product, especially like a keyboard, which you just expect to turn on and it just to work. I mean, when you want to play a game, this should be ready to go. To put into context, I also bought this RGB mouse at the same time. It's a really, really cheap mouse. It's light. This thing runs off a 2.4 gigahertz receiver. It runs fine every time. I never have any issues running this. The only thing is the battery is not fantastic on it, but you know, it's a great little mouse. It works fantastic. Charge it at the top, and you know, everything is absolutely fine. There's no issues with it whatsoever. Got a DPI button there and 2 side buttons, and there's a nice RGB effect. So that was considerably cheaper than this, and it's cheaper build quality, but come on, guys, you know, Bluetooth connection, if you're advertising it as a Bluetooth keyboard, it should not be having this number of connection issues. And again, this could be isolated to my situation. Let me give you an example. I have another Bluetooth device here, a speaker quite close to this. So I thought, maybe the Bluetooth on the speaker is interfering with the Bluetooth on the keyboard. That's why I'm having so many connection issues. Well, I disconnected the Bluetooth speaker and played a session, and funnily enough, when I actually played without the Bluetooth speaker on, I was getting the same issues again. So it's just something to consider. Maybe a 2.4 gigahertz adapter type keyboard might be better for you if you're looking for a wireless experience. Now, the last thing I want to talk about today, without this video going on too long, and again, these have all been issues, but I can't stress enough that this is a really nice keyboard to actually use when it works. The keys make a fantastic sound. They're really clicky and responsive, and it's a really nice form factor. It's really small. Like, if you compare it to the size of the mouse here, you know, it's a really compact little keyboard. It's fantastic. But the other issue that I've been having is the sleep mode, and this is something that's been well documented. And if you're also having this issue, you're not alone. This keyboard goes into sleep mode after a certain amount of time. Now, you can set it. I've set the dongle on my computer to not be accessed by Windows power settings, so Windows can't turn off the dongle. It still goes to sleep. I have tried every fix under the sun, so much so that I eventually got onto the Dierya forums and read a few things there about it, and a software update was released for this keyboard that stops it from going to the sleep mode. Sleep mode, basically, after you have the keyboard left, on the base software this comes with out of the box, if you leave this idle for a certain amount of time, I've not been able to time exactly how long that is. It's something like a minute or less, even, to be honest. I'm not even joking, it's less than a minute. What will happen is the keyboard will disconnect from the Bluetooth, and it takes like 10 to 15 seconds to repair with the computer again. This is a complete pain in the ass if you're playing a game with a lot of cutscenes. I was playing Max Payne 3 recently, long cutscenes in that game. When I go to try and play my game again, I can't move because the keyboard is trying to re-establish a connection with the computer, and it's really frustrating. So I go onto the forums and I see there's a load of questions there. They've actually updated the software on this and released it for you to download. So I go plug in the keyboard, download the firmware update, and it gives me this software which is bare bones but has a power saving feature on it. I toggle the power saving feature like the person on the website tells me, that I'm assuming works for Dierya, and no luck. The only thing I found is that once I've applied the update, it does take longer for it to disconnect, and considerably so, in all fairness to Dierya. Now I think it takes something like 2 minutes or more for it to disconnect, but it still takes around 5 seconds for it to re-establish, which is better than what it was before. But they kept advertising as it being able to turn off the sleep feature. That is not the case, folks, so just be aware of that. You're not going to be able to turn off this keyboard, turn off the power saving on it. And you know, we'll have some clips up on the screen here while I'm talking to kind of break this review up a little bit of the forums and what it looks like. It's really kind of a dodgy setup at the moment, you know. There's a lot of spam on the forums and things like that, and the stuff that's being suggested a lot of the time isn't actually solving the problems for you. So this is something that I think Dierya need to get on, and my only understanding is, or my only kind of the only reasoning I can think is that they've released newer keyboards since, and maybe the support for this product is starting to die out a little bit, which isn't good because this is only a new product, or a relatively new product, and the software has never really been finalized for it. So that's kind of my rant about this keyboard, guys. And as I said, I would love to like this keyboard, and I do like it at times, but there's just so many things that need to be improved on it, software wise and functionality wise, for it actually to be usable day to day. So it's just a cautionary video. If you are planning on buying this, just be aware that it is not fully as advertised in terms of the reliability of it, and I'm giving you an honest review here. You may disagree with me, your mileage may vary, you may have had a completely different experience with this keyboard. That is entirely possible, but I'm just here to tell you what I've experienced using it pretty much exclusively in Bluetooth mode from a relatively close distance to the actual receiver, the Bluetooth receiver in my computer. That's what I've experienced. If you enjoy these tech review videos, can you let me know down below? And if you want more content to do with my PC and things that I've discovered and peripherals, let me know, because I do kind of enjoy sitting in front of the camera and making these videos as well. There's something different, and I think people appreciate this sort of stuff, because I'm kind of going to areas that you may not have seen this, or kind of scenarios you may not have seen this keyboard in before, or criticism about this keyboard you may not have seen before. Hope you enjoy, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video.